This is the story of a name that is synonymous with elegance, power, and enduring British class. A brand so intertwined with luxury and espionage that it defines the very meaning of a gentleman's grand tourer. But before the cinematic fame and the glittering success, Aston Martin was born from the raw ambition of two men who simply wanted to build the fastest, most beautiful racing car in the entire world. The company's remarkable journey began in 1913 with the fateful partnership of Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford. Martin, a keen driver and engineer, and Bamford, a more astute businessman, shared a small London workshop and a singular, determined focus to engineer and hand-build high-performance vehicles. The now legendary name Aston Martin was officially derived from two primary sources. First, the name of the founder, Lionel Martin, and second, the location of their earliest competitive success, the famous Aston Clinton hill climb in Buckinghamshire, where they achieved early victories. Their very first prototype car was an adapted Isotta Fraschini chassis, meticulously fitted with a bespoke, advanced four-cylinder engine designed and engineered entirely by Bamford and Martin. This initial machine was famously registered in March 1915 and set the immediate tone for the next century of meticulous craftsmanship. The outbreak of World War I, however, instantly forced the founders to halt all production and close the workshop doors. Both men bravely joined the armed forces, and the company's fledgling manufacturing ambitions were paused as the entire nation shifted its focus to the war effort. After the Great War concluded in 1918, the two founders successfully managed to secure crucial financing to officially restart operations, but the partnership was tragically short-lived. Robert Bamford left the company in 1920, leaving Lionel Martin to continue the monumental engineering challenge alone. The first true production Aston Martin was the celebrated Bunny, a high-performance vehicle used primarily for racing and rigorous record attempts. It became the first car to successfully cover the total distance of 100,000 miles, or 160,000 kilometers, in rigorous testing, proving the car's extreme durability. By the mid-1920s, the company was exclusively focused on highly challenging Grand Prix racing in Europe, seeing it as the ultimate proving ground for their engineering. Their philosophy was clear: race on Sunday, and whatever survived the abuse would be built and sold on Monday. Plot point: despite the intense engineering success and growing racing reputation, Aston Martin was perpetually and severely undercapitalized. High development costs for racing engines, coupled with low production volumes, immediately led to the company's very first financial failure and mandatory liquidation in 1925. The company was swiftly rescued by a small syndicate of wealthy investors, notably the renowned engineer Augustus Bertelli. This new management team immediately implemented a critical shift in strategy, moving away from bespoke racing to focus on the more commercially viable high-end sports car market. The result was the highly successful Aston Martin International, launched in 1929. This was a road-going sports car that successfully blended race-derived engineering with refined, elegant coach-built bodies, becoming the first model that genuinely earned the company a stable income. This era saw Aston Martin dominate high-end British motorsport, most notably competing in the grueling 24 Hours of Le Mans race throughout the 1930s. Their cars were revered for their exceptional durability, lightweight construction, and remarkable reliability over extreme distances. However, the specter of financial fragility returned. The costs of maintaining a professional race team during the challenging Great Depression, combined with low sales, forced the company into administration for the second time in 1932, a recurring, devastating theme in the brand's early history. Once again, a wealthy savior appeared. Sir Arthur Sutherland, who injected massive capital but stipulated an immediate, non-negotiable end to all Grand Prix racing activities, allowing the company to focus exclusively on developing and selling high-volume road cars. The years leading up to World War II saw the launch of popular sporting road cars such as the Aston Martin 1598 and the sophisticated Atom concept. The Atom, in particular, was an advanced prototype featuring a pioneering, innovative space frame chassis design. World War II again brought all civilian automotive production to a complete and sudden halt. The factory was immediately repurposed by the British government for the war effort, manufacturing highly sensitive aircraft components and training munitions. After the war ended in 1945, the small factory was left with two major issues: a devastating lack of capital and the critical need for a new, proven engine design that could power the next generation of performance sports cars into the post-war era. The critical intellectual property they possessed, however, was the highly advanced Atom prototype and its ingenious space frame chassis design. This innovative, lightweight structure would prove to be the most valuable asset remaining in the company's depleted inventory. Aston Martin, having survived 2 world wars and multiple near bankruptcies, was ready for its next savior. The future of the brand was now entirely dependent on finding a visionary leader, a man who could not only inject massive funding, but also provide the initials that would define Aston Martin's golden age forever.
The year 1947 marked the true, definitive moment when the modern legend of Aston Martin was truly forged. The brand, perpetually bankrupt and technically insolvent, was saved by a visionary industrialist whose initials would forever grace the marque's most iconic cars. This was the beginning of the DB era, and it would immediately elevate the brand from niche racer to global luxury icon. The savior was Sir David Brown, a wealthy industrialist who had made his fortune in gears and tractors. He was a passionate racing enthusiast who saw Aston Martin not as a business, but as a prestigious, high-speed engineering challenge. He famously purchased the entire company for a mere £20,500, a true bargain for a name with such an immense pedigree. Brown's purchase included not only Aston Martin, but crucially, also the respected luxury coach builder Lagonda. This simultaneous acquisition was a stroke of genius, immediately solving Aston Martin's greatest post-war problem: the critical lack of a modern, reliable, high-performance engine. The immediate solution to the engine problem was the brilliant W.O. Bentley-designed 2.6-liter straight-six engine from Lagonda. This highly advanced, all-alloy unit featured a sophisticated twin-overhead camshaft design, a powerful, lightweight, and modern foundation for the new era of Aston Martin. The first car to emerge under the new ownership was the Aston Martin 2-liter Sports, later unofficially known as the DB1. It was built around the existing pre-war Atom prototype's innovative space frame chassis and utilized the smaller original Aston Martin engine. Plot point. However, the true breakthrough, the vehicle that would finally define the brand's future, was the DB2, launched in 1950. This car decisively incorporated the powerful Lagonda engine and a beautifully sleek, highly aerodynamic coupe body style, setting the Grand Touring template for decades. The DB2 was immediately entered into highly competitive endurance races, including the grueling 24 Hours of Le Mans, where it successfully secured a class win and 2 other high-place finishes in its debut year. This racing success instantly solidified its reputation for exceptional, reliable performance. The success of the DB2 was quickly followed by the launch of the DB2-4 in 1953. This new version subtly added a small, functional rear occasional seat, creating a much more versatile 2+2 Grand Touring that was perfectly suited for comfortable, high-speed European travel. This entire period was profoundly defined by David Brown's absolute commitment to motorsport. He formed Aston Martin Lagonda Racing, which poured massive funds into developing a dedicated, world-class racing prototype, the legendary DBR1. Turn. By the late 1950s, the DBR1 program was dominating. The car was engineered by the legendary Ted Cutting and utilized an incredibly lightweight chassis. Its crowning achievement was the dramatic, definitive win at the 1959 24 Hours of Le Mans, finally fulfilling David Brown's ultimate goal. The phenomenal Le Mans victory was further reinforced by winning the World Sports Car Championship in the same monumental year. This success cemented Aston Martin's position as a true global performance contender, directly competing with titans like Ferrari and Jaguar. Despite the racing success, the road car division faced new engineering challenges. To stay ahead, Aston Martin adopted the sophisticated Italian Superleggera construction method, pioneered by Touring of Milan, for its next generation of models. The Superleggera technique involved manually fitting intricate, small-diameter steel tubes over a central structure, and then applying thin, hand-beaten aluminum panels over the top. This artisanal method guaranteed extremely low weight and immense structural strength. The final car to be developed in this transitional period was the DB4, which officially debuted in 1958. It was the very first Aston Martin to fully utilize the Superleggera construction method, giving it an unmistakable Italian elegance blended with brutal British power. The DB4 also introduced the powerful new Tadic-Marek-designed 3.7-liter straight-six engine. This advanced power unit would become the fundamental core of Aston Martin's next era, providing the massive power needed for true high-speed Grand Touring. The DB4 was now capable of achieving a formidable top speed of nearly 140 miles per hour, or 225 kilometers per hour, immediately establishing it as one of the most capable and beautiful high-performance cars in the entire world. The immense pressures of maintaining both a successful World Championship racing team and a boutique luxury car manufacturer were financially unsustainable, even for the wealthy David Brown. The Le Mans victory was the beautiful, expensive climax. The company subsequently made the necessary, heartbreaking decision to officially retire from all major factory-backed motorsport in 1960. This move allowed the factory to finally focus its full energy and resources exclusively on high-end road car production. The racing era had achieved its ultimate goal, giving the DB cars immense credibility. The DB4 had successfully introduced the signature Superleggera styling and the powerful Marek engine. Aston Martin was now poised for its true global cultural explosion, an explosion fueled by a single, unforgettable movie role.
This decade marks the absolute zenith of Aston Martin's early influence, when the brand successfully transcended mere engineering and became a true global cultural icon. The recipe was simple and potent. Take the incredible speed of the DB4, refine its unmatched elegance, and then grant it the greatest, most enduring cinematic role ever assigned to a motorcar in film history. The decade began with the DB4 firmly established as a highly respected, successful Grand Tourer, However, constant refinement was a hallmark of the David Brown era. The DB4 quickly evolved through several iterations, culminating in the extremely high-performance DB4 GT in 1959. The powerful DB4 GT was designed specifically to compete directly with Ferrari on the track, notably featuring a shorter, lighter chassis and a more intensely tuned engine. It was an uncompromising machine built for a wealthy clientele who demanded absolute track day performance from their road cars. The next subtle evolution came in 1963 with the launch of the DB4 Series V, also known as the Vantage. This version featured the iconic, cleaner design of the car's most recognizable front end, with fully faired-in headlights, giving it a much more streamlined, modern appearance. Then came the legend. The Aston Martin DB5 debuted in 1963 and marked the true fusion of speed and elegance. It utilized a significantly larger 4.0-liter version of the powerful Tadek-Marek engine, successfully boosting output to a highly respectable 282 horsepower. However, the DB5's true lasting legacy was cemented a year later. In 1964, it was cast as the official company car of James Bond in the blockbuster film Goldfinger. This single cinematic appearance instantly transformed Aston Martin from a respected niche builder into a global cultural phenomenon. The Bond Association was the single most valuable piece of marketing the company has ever received. The DB5 became the definitive spy car, forever linked to high-tech gadgets, ultimate power, and quintessential British cool, a reputation that continues to drive sales today. The massive cultural demand generated by the film led to a small, final production run of the DB5 that ended in 1965. It remains arguably the most sought-after and expensive classic Aston Martin model in the world, thanks almost entirely to its enduring screen presence. The final ultimate evolution of the Superleggera era arrived in 1965 with the launch of the DB6. This car was built to address the previous DB5's only major flaw, a lack of high-speed stability, especially when traveling with a family or luggage. The engineers achieved this crucial stability by extending the wheelbase slightly and, most notably, adding a subtle but extremely functional cam-style tail or rear lip and a revised roofline. These aerodynamic changes decisively improved high-speed stability and interior room. Despite the clear, undisputed global success of the DB5, the financial reality remained grim. The company was still operating at a colossal loss, struggling to profitably balance the artisanal, high-cost Superleggera construction with necessary production volumes. The artisanal build process, where every thin aluminum body panel was meticulously hand-beaten, was incredibly expensive and difficult to scale. It was a beautiful but commercially unsustainable method, particularly as global manufacturing standards rapidly modernized. Seeking to consolidate and create long-term stability, David Brown made the strategic move in 1964 to relocate the entire operation to a much larger, more integrated factory complex located in Newport Pagnell, Buckinghamshire, which would remain the brand's spiritual home for decades. Meanwhile, the company began quietly developing a massive new engine, a powerful 5.3-liter V8 designed to replace the now aging straight-six. This engine was intended to thrust Aston Martin into the next performance frontier, competing directly with the huge V8s from rivals like Maserati and Ferrari. The final, ultimate version of the straight-six cars was the DBS, which was introduced in 1967. This car featured a radical new design aesthetic, sharp, aggressive, and decidedly modern.
but was initially fitted with the older straight-six engine due to V8 development delays. The sophisticated new DBS styling was the work of renowned designer William Townes, whose sharp lines and broad, flat surfaces broke dramatically with the soft, flowing Italian elegance of the Superleggera era. It signaled an immediate, decisive move towards a much more muscular British aesthetic. Finally, in 1969, the DBS was rightly re-engineered to accept the massive new 5.3-liter V8, becoming the incredibly powerful DBS V8. This car was a brute force machine, signaling the end of the delicate DB era and the confident start of a new, aggressive chapter. Despite the huge cultural success, David Brown was exhausted by the relentless financial battles. In 1972, after nearly 25 years of ownership and monumental investment, he sadly sold the entire company, initiating the next decade of extreme financial turbulence. The DB era was over, leaving behind the most iconic cinematic legacy in automotive history. But as the company's founder left the stage, Aston Martin faced its biggest financial challenge yet, forced to survive the turbulent 1970s and 80s, relying solely on the sheer brute force of that immense new V8 engine.
With Sir David Brown's departure in 1972, Aston Martin plunged into a brutal 15-year period of relentless financial crisis, rapidly changing owners, and near-constant threat of total closure. Survival depended entirely on one thing: a massive, aggressively styled V8 car that defined British muscle and had enough sheer, raw, brute power to simply intimidate the competition into submission. Following Brown's heartbreaking sale in 1972, the company changed hands repeatedly in a dizzying sequence of financial takeovers and rescues. The sheer complexity of hand-building cars remained a financial anchor, constantly dragging the company close to the point of complete insolvency. The financial volatility of the 1970s forced the company to become intensely resourceful. Instead of designing entirely new models, the engineering focus was concentrated on maximizing the potential of the existing DBS V8 platform and extracting maximum power from the already massive engine. The result of this brutal engineering focus was the legendary V8 Vantage, which debuted in 1977. This machine was a dramatic leap over the base V8 model, instantly gaining the well-deserved nickname of Britain's first supercar for its utterly ferocious performance figures. The V8 Vantage was deliberately designed to be the fastest production car in the entire world, challenging the dominance of high-end Italian rivals. It was fitted with highly aggressive camshafts, specialized high-compression heads, and massive high-flow carburetors. Aston Martin engineers confidently claimed a horsepower figure exceeding 390 horsepower, though the true number was likely closer to a colossal 405 horsepower. This immense power propelled the massive Grand Tourer to a staggering top speed of over 170 miles per hour, 274 kilometers per hour. The Vantage's styling was every bit as aggressive as its performance. It featured a dramatic, prominent rear wing and a completely blanked-off, highly aerodynamic front grille, giving the car a powerful, muscular, and instantly recognizable look that defined its decade. The V8 Vantage was the complete, polar opposite of the delicate DB5 elegance. It was a pure, unadulterated brute force machine built for the unapologetic elite
who demanded power and road presence above all else. It was affectionately nicknamed the Brute by the press. Plot point: Aston Martin's cinematic ties once again proved to be the brand's lifeline. In 1987, the V8 Vantage was cast as James Bond's highly powerful, muscular car in the living daylights, successfully rebooting the iconic cinematic association for a new generation. This new film role was a critical marketing success, successfully linking the aggressive, modern V8 design with the timeless, classic Bond appeal. It gave the aging model an essential, much-needed boost in global visibility and sales during a perilous financial period. Meanwhile, the company pursued new, radical avenues to maintain relevance and bring in crucial revenue, launching the deeply divisive Aston Martin Lagonda saloon. This futuristic, low-production four-door featured wildly aggressive, wedge-shaped styling and highly experimental digital technology. The Lagonda was a true technological risk, featuring pioneering digital dashboard instrumentation that was notoriously unreliable and complex, a bold move that showcased Aston Martin's willingness to experiment even amidst financial chaos. Turn. The constant crisis finally stabilized in the mid-1980s. A pivotal moment was the acquisition by a consortium that included the renowned race engineer Peter Levanos and, critically, the appointment of the American automotive veteran Victor Gauntlet as the new executive chairman. Gauntlet immediately understood that the company needed a powerful global partner for long-term survival. He began a strategic search for a major automotive manufacturer who could provide the massive, sustained funding and shared platform technology required. Gauntlet's tireless efforts successfully paid off in 1987. The American automotive giant Ford Motor Company purchased a massive 75% stake in Aston Martin, finally giving the beleaguered British brand the financial stability it had desperately needed for over 40 years. Ford's primary motivation was to leverage Aston Martin's unique, unparalleled brand heritage and its sophisticated engineering talent for its own global product development, while also providing the necessary investment to completely modernize the aging Newport Pagnell facility. The final iconic model of the V8 era was the magnificent V8 Vantage Zagato, an extremely exclusive, limited production machine featuring a highly dramatic, controversial Italian design, a last hurrah of the high-performance V8 brute force machine. The V8 Vantage ultimately proved to be the absolute, undeniable backbone of the company's survival. Its uncompromising power, combined with the strategic Bond placement, successfully navigated Aston Martin through the toughest, most challenging era in its entire history. The V8 brute force era was finally over. Now, under the massive financial security of the Ford umbrella, Aston Martin was ready to shed its aggressive 1970s shell and return to its original glory, launching a new, elegant Grand Tourer that would redefine the luxury automotive market, the DB7.
The 1990s marked a profound, necessary metamorphosis for Aston Martin. Under the immense stabilizing umbrella of the Ford Motor Company, the brand finally possessed the massive capital and shared engineering platforms it needed to succeed. The result was a dramatic shedding of the brute force V8 image and a confident return to its origins, building the most beautiful, modern, and desirable Grand Tourers in the world. Ford's initial acquisition in 1987 quickly led to full ownership.
The management's strategic goal was clear: utilize shared technology from Ford's global empire to cut crippling development costs while ensuring Aston Martin retained its unique British hand-built exclusivity and design genius. The first, most critical product of this new, highly efficient strategy was the magnificent DB7, launched in 1994. This vehicle was designed to be Aston Martin's first truly volume production sports car, aiming to sell in numbers previously unimaginable for the marque. The design was the work of the legendary Ian Cullum, who successfully reinterpreted the classic flowing lines of the DB4-DB5 era for the modern age. It was instantaneously lauded by the press for its perfect proportions, elegant curves, and unmistakable road presence. Critically, the DB7 utilized a heavily modified platform and many shared components from the Ford parts bin, most notably from the Jaguar XJS. This clever cross-pollination allowed the company to keep development costs low and maximize profitability for the first time in decades. The initial power came from a supercharged 3.2-liter straight-six engine, a reliable and potent unit that produced a competitive 335 horsepower. However, the immense design potential demanded a more powerful, range-topping engine for the new millennium. Plot point: the demand for more power led to the launch of the definitive version, the DB7 Vantage, in 1999. This model introduced Aston Martin's first-ever V12 engine, a powerful 5.9-liter unit developed from a Ford design, a massive leap forward in performance. This formidable V12 produced a staggering 420 horsepower, catapulting the sleek DB7 Vantage to a top speed of over 185 miles per hour, 298 kilometers per hour. This engine immediately set a new benchmark for Aston Martin, cementing the V12 as the heart of the flagship models. The success of the DB7 finally stabilized the company's finances. Production figures soared, particularly in the critical American market, allowing Aston Martin to move the core production from the old Newport Pagnell site to a brand-new purpose-built facility in Gaydon, Warwickshire. The new Gaydon facility was a critical strategic move, allowing for higher volume production and the implementation of advanced modern assembly techniques, while still maintaining the rigorous quality standards and unique hand-built element the brand required. With the DB7 holding the volume production role, Aston Martin was free to pursue a new flagship hypercar, the ultimate statement of their V12 power and bespoke capability, the stunning V12 Vanquish, which launched in 2001. The Vanquish was the last vehicle to be entirely built at the old Newport Pagnell factory. It was a pure, artisanal masterpiece, featuring a sophisticated bonded aluminum and carbon fiber chassis and a fierce 460 horsepower version of the V12 engine. Turn. The Vanquish, like the DB5 before it, was immediately cast as the official company car of James Bond in the film Die Another Day, 2002. This cinematic placement cemented the Vanquish's status as the definitive flagship of the new Ford era. The final model to transition to the new Gaydon era was the all-new DB9, which launched in 2004. It was the first model to be built entirely on Aston Martin's revolutionary new V8 architecture, a highly flexible, modern, bonded aluminum platform. The V8 architecture utilized aerospace-style bonded aluminum, creating an incredibly light, immensely strong, and extremely rigid structure. This platform would become the structural and engineering backbone for almost every Aston Martin model for the next decade. This new platform instantly allowed the creation of a smaller, more accessible sports car, the V8 Vantage, launched in 2005. This model was designed to compete directly with Porsche, finally giving the brand a high-volume, performance-focused entry point. The V8 Vantage was deliberately engineered to be smaller, lighter, and more agile than the Grand Touring DB9. It quickly became the brand's most successful, high-volume model to date, thanks to its powerful V8 engine and its perfect contemporary styling. The Ford ownership period successfully brought Aston Martin back from the brink of financial disaster, providing the resources to develop two new global platforms, DB7 and VH, and decisively establish the V12 and V8 engine families as the brand's heart. But the time for full ownership had passed. Having restored the brand's financial health, cultural prestige, and technological foundation, Ford made the strategic decision to sell Aston Martin to an independent consortium, allowing the company to finally embark on its most ambitious, independent, and hyper-exclusive era yet.
The year 2007 heralded the final, true independence of Aston Martin. Free from the corporate constraints of Ford, the brand was ready to fully exploit the robust VH architecture and channel its focus toward pure, hyper-exclusive engineering. This era would see Aston Martin fully realize its ambition to compete with the world's most elite hypercar manufacturers, culminating in true, track-only machines. Ford successfully sold Aston Martin in 2007 to a consortium led by David Richards of ProDrive, a major motorsport and engineering firm. This move immediately shifted the company's strategic focus from high-volume production to limited edition, bespoke excellence, and intense, renewed involvement in racing. Under new leadership, Aston Martin immediately sought to prove its bespoke capabilities by launching its most exclusive project yet, the 177. This limited edition hypercar was the ultimate engineering statement of the versatile VH architecture platform. Plot point: the 177 production was strictly limited to just 77 units globally. It featured a truly massive, naturally aspirated 7.3-liter V12 engine, the most powerful engine in the world at the time, which produced an astonishing 750 horsepower. The 177's engineering was uncompromising. Its entire body was constructed from hand-rolled, bespoke aluminum panels draped over a rigid carbon fiber chassis. This resulted in a top speed exceeding 220 miles per hour, 354 kilometers per hour, immediately establishing Aston Martin in the elite hypercar realm. The company also successfully expanded its market segments. The sleek, sporty Vantage received a potent V12 engine option, and the ultra-luxury flagship Rapide four-door sedan was launched, effectively combining the V12 power with genuine four-seat grand touring capability. A pivotal strategic partnership began in 2013 when Aston Martin officially teamed up with German engineering giant Daimler AG, Mercedes-Benz. This agreement provided critical access to cutting-edge AMG V8 engines and advanced modern electronics. The German alliance allowed Aston Martin to finally phase out the aging VH architecture and launch an entirely new generation of sports cars. The first of these was the magnificent DB11 2016, which featured an updated, highly modular bonded aluminum platform. The alliance gave the DB11 two engine options: the powerful 5.2-liter V12 designed by Aston Martin for the flagship, and a highly advanced twin-turbocharged AMG 4-liter V8 for the high-volume models, ensuring efficiency and reliability. Turn. The most profound transformation came with the launch of the Valkyrie project, a true, uncompromising hypercar developed in a highly ambitious technical partnership with the Red Bull racing team and legendary designer Adrian Newey. The Valkyrie's goal was revolutionary: to create the world's most extreme street-legal car with a level of downforce and performance previously found only in Formula One racing. It featured a fully bespoke, massive 6.5-liter Cosworth V12 engine. Producing over 1,160 horsepower in hybrid form, the Valkyrie represents the absolute pinnacle of Aston Martin's current engineering capability. Its development confirmed the company's place not just as a luxury brand,
but as a genuine, cutting-edge technical innovator. The company also made a powerful return to its racing roots, actively competing in the World Endurance Championship and making a dramatic return to the pinnacle of motorsport, the Formula One grid, with its own dedicated factory team. Today, Aston Martin's lineup is the most diverse and high-tech in its history, ranging from the high-volume, dynamic new Vantage and DB12 to the highly controversial yet necessary DBX luxury SUV, ensuring financial stability in a changing market. The spirit of the company remains fundamentally tied to the exquisite craftsmanship of Newport Pagnell. Even with modern technology, the final luxury assembly and meticulous hand-finishing of the interiors are still conducted by master artisans in Gaydon. The enduring image of Aston Martin is defined by its dramatic resilience, a company that survived countless bankruptcies, 2 world wars, and multiple financial crises to emerge stronger, more technologically advanced, and more culturally relevant than ever before. From the humble beginnings of 2 men building a racing car in a small London workshop to a global luxury powerhouse creating F1-derived hypercars, the initial, uncompromising pursuit of speed and elegance remains the absolute guiding principle. The simple initials DB, David Brown, still grace the front of every single flagship model, a permanent, lasting tribute to the industrialist who ultimately saved the company and defined its global identity for all time. The resilience of Aston Martin is not just a commercial success story. It is a legendary automotive narrative written in elegant aluminum, powerful V12 engines, and an enduring, uncompromising pursuit of the ultimate British luxury and speed.